Okay, how are these dreads? Oh my god. I have to admit they've been neglected for a while, and here and there I was kind of like doing things. I I did a lot of different styles, and I'm really in love. Half of these are, so you're gonna notice a lot of the shorter ones. Those are my real hair, so I've like partially dreaded natural hair, plus the extensions, plus of the obvious like colorful, and it's been fun and textural to be able to switch up the textile, like, or the design of them, or use them in a sense where I feel like I want to like sculpt it into something. I want to like create a different kind of composition, because this is this medium is different than whatever it was before. So it's kind of fun and playful to experiment, to try to see like, oh, and if I just tuck them into themselves, they'll pretty much, just hang out. And I can, what else could we do? A lot of times I'll like segment it out into sections because it is quite the bulk of hair. So I just want to like divide it so the feel is roughly like, it's a personal preference. It's whatever it needs to be. I used to really love putting my hair up with just one I've used sticks in the forest, or like paintbrushes or pencils or anything. And there's always been a way. Where there's a will, there's a way kind of thing. There's no rules that say you can't pick up a stick in the forest and put your hair up with it. Although I did discover it. See, take a look at this new look. I just tie it up and voila. Now, if I was in a situation where I was communicating something important and I really needed to demonstrate my credibility or legitimacy as a person, the validity of what I have to share with you, the importance of these messages, the impact, like, upon first glance, you see me as a human and I'm ready to communicate with you. What's this judgment? Is there something about this presentation that sort of undermines or discredits or dismisses or diverts the ability to recognize? It's not, the hair is not the knowledge body. It is not the heart and soul of the people. None of these things, these articles or adornments that we're so used to like using as symbols to represent ourselves, you associate so much with what we're seeing. Like, oh, look at the bracelets. Oh, that must mean something, right? Oh, there's a moon on that, Her ears are gauged. Piercings, tattoos. What is this? Don't let her near my daughter. Would I be a bad influence? I would, if this was me, if that was a judgment, I would only hope that I would have that opportunity to show compassion for this poor person's daughter. Not poor as in financially, just like I feel like the disparity really comes from the lack of openness to things that might not be yours or totally familiar and already well established in our comfort zone. We're going to encounter so many people throughout our entire lives, and they're all going to have something. It may be abrasive to the direction we're heading in. It may create obstacles for us that now we have to divert our attention and energy towards, just to solve and just to carry on where we were headed. So that may seem inconvenient, and that may seem just like bothersome or a nuisance or whatnot, but it's okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me if this person thinks I'm annoying or is like, I'm going to formulate a judgment about you, and they can have that. They do. We often do. We all do. It's good to challenge them. It's good to recognize that and understand, like, is this really what I want? Do I want to carry with me these ideas about whatever it is? I just think it's so limiting. You walk into a situation and you never know. You never know what's going to happen next. You know, sometimes I feel like a lot of people do think they know, and they're very confident that they can predict exactly how this is gonna go, and they've been there, done that. They know, they feel confident that they will, and a certain extent of that is true. But like, I just so greatly adhere to like the chaos theory. Like, you have to consider the actual potential. What? Anyways, a little bit off track. You know, I just keep thinking of this hypothetical person's daughter who I'm not allowed to, like, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna learn how to longboard. We're gonna ride bikes. We're gonna go collect cool rocks by the lake. We're gonna go for a hike. We're gonna appreciate the fall colors. We're gonna twirl, and we're gonna jump around and climb around. We'll probably get dirty, you know, but I can guarantee it will be an experience that will teach us and give us this beautiful gift of it's experiential, it's sensational, and it adds so much to life. It really expands on whatever idea you had about what it was going to be. And we can get there and discover for ourselves in the moment through mindfulness practice and opening of our awareness. If you think you already know, and that's that, you've really shut the door and the potential for gathering more information and discovering something new. I think that's why, you know, the philosophy of not knowing, the idea that remain open, because there's so much to learn always, forever. And this is the growth mindset, and this is a really beautiful thing to encourage, especially in a child. I think we need it as adults too. And it's never lost. You know how there are a lot of like stories about how adults have grown and become so rigid and solid and in their, you know, ways of operation, and they just are, you can't teach an old dog new tricks kind of thing. This mentality, I am what I am. And that's that, right? Even unapologetically, like a certain extent, I can see that and be like, wow, look at that confidence, you know, good for you to have confidence in yourself. Because we experience the full range, but what's a little bit unfortunate to see it at the same time is like, if you're so content where you are, what desire do you have for anything else? And it's not necessarily a dissatisfaction that brings us to want to move or change or explore. But I find that it's less about wanting to get away from where I was and more about uncovering what else it is. And we find this out by picking up the rocks and looking underneath, getting a little bit closer into places where we believe we've already well accustomed ourselves to. We've taken in this experience, we've been there, done that, sure. But every single time we revisit that, there's a new element coming into the picture. There's so many new elements. And that is beautiful, because it's beautiful to me, because we have our own inner compositions that are changing all the time. Did you get enough sleep? How are you feeling? Is it hot or cold that day? What about the weather? What about these other outside environmental factors? Are you in a big crowd of people that day? Are you on your own? Did something horrible just happen? Are you already in this emotional like mindset that's going to kind of gear you into those ways of thinking? Like, that's going to influence how you perceive what's happening, for sure. All the time, everything. That's kind of hard because you want to be able to single out that variable, right? Good luck. But I mean, I'm not saying that to say that like it's not possible. It's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of experimental approach. Just being open, understanding something is there that you don't know. That is 100% undeniably true. Now it's kind of strange though too. I often want to challenge my own because a belief that I hold very strongly is like there are no absolutes. And if life were a spectrum, just an ongoing, forever fluctuating, slightly shifting and waxing and waning and ebbing and flowing, and this like exchange, it just keeps going. We're always rippling and these frequencies and wow, all the factors, right? I mean, there's so much going on that it almost becomes a little bit because the same, when you step back far enough, the pixels begin to blur and then you're seeing more of a unified, so this could apply in whatever way we're thinking about perception, the human experience, what is going into why we're having it this way. Like, someone described humans recently to me as different genres of human. And I thought that was a really clever way to think about it. A lot of times I've been reflecting on versions of the human experience. Version of your version is different than my version. But genre encompasses something a little bit more. It feels like it begins to touch into personality, style, it's more of it's more of an ongoing consistency shown in different ways that kind of support like something as a whole. So if I was a pop star, I would sing pop music, right? I don't know. What is it? Why the limitations? I guess the categorization of this information, why we keep picking it apart and we want to organize it this way, I find that what's happening is that there are so many details. And if we really zoom in to those details, we'll always keep finding more details. I believe that it's like infinitely large as it is small, and we are limited because the actual process of perception, it's such a complex system of systems within systems. And are we taking a scientific approach with this, or more of a heartfelt, intuitive, what's the goal? I suppose that would be a good question to ask. A lot of times I find myself looking for answers, almost as if I'm solving this mystery or trying to just gather some helpful piece of new information that will guide these issues or situations or conundrums or whatever it is that you want to call it. But it's just a lot of contemplation about the state of things. And if I'm finding a lot of unpleasant experiences, I'm starting to think to myself, there's got to be a way I can help guide myself away from this format. I'm just going to reformat things a little bit, do a little editing, fix it up. We have that power. And the metaphor, whatever language you're speaking, that's the thing. So it's a lot of testing out of these different metaphors, which all it's a prompt. It's just a cue. It's a symbol. It's however this is making sense. Something's got to make sense. And I find that perhaps with this example or perhaps with that, we'll find something that really truly, resonates, makes more sense. And I don't really fluently speak. I speak English, obviously, but I dabble into Spanish. I've been learning French. It's so basic, conversational, but it's enough of a little bit of an introduction to something really, really beautiful and expansive. Learning languages, learning how words are ordered and what it is you're really saying when you're trying to express an idea. And a lot of times when I'll hear the native speaker, and of course that's so difficult to keep up. I'm es muy rápido. Es difícil por escucho las palabras de just repite por favor. No sé qué es mucho es plus I can't even. This is the strange thing. French, Spanish, a little bit beside the point. Yeah, there's there's too many crossfires in the brain where it's goes right back to, the one I was not trying to access in my brain. I'm no, brain, come on. We're looking in the French files now. And that's the thing. It's a file Filing cabinet. Why am I like in the why am I a 90s librarian in my mind? Good God, this video is getting a little bit bizarre, but you know what? I'm enjoying it. I hope you are too. Anyways, God. This is called a stream of consciousness. There was no written script to this video. I'm just kind of going with the flow of what is leading to what. But what I love about these kinds of conversations when they're happening, and especially with what input is gathered with others and their unique perspectives, there's just so much. That brings me back. I was losing focus of this. It's like when you start a painting and you're beginning the process. Everybody's process is going to be different. You know, they could achieve the same goal different ways. There's no like right or wrong. If it's making sense the way that they're doing it, you know, I see that. I'm like, hey, you figured it out. What works for you? You know, we all have these different abilities and we're going to be, you know, exposed to different information. We're going to have access to different resources or supports in our communities. Granted, all of those things are helpful to have, you know, use them as your tools, use them as the bricks that are paving the way that you're, you know, carving this path for yourself in life. And we have that power. I guess like one real big goal is just, I really wish we knew that we had that power. I wish every one of us knew that. Because imagine if so many more of these misunderstandings were alleviated. Just imagine less conflict. Imagine greater understanding and compassion and humanity. We'd have space and accepting space for one another, for ourselves, for each other. I believe disagreements are bound to take place because our desires differ, our needs differ, our pursuits are we'll find ourselves often integrated with others who are like-minded because they are on that same track, you know? We might not be moving at the same pace. We might be doing kind of different things, but if you're an artist or just have a curiosity about art, I mean, I guess anything, in so many ways we relate to one another. I love art as an expression, you know? And the way I think about it is not necessarily something I can just check a box. Although once upon a time in my life, I have to admit, I did believe that. I had such a limited version. It's like when you're writing a research paper and you begin with the basic outline. And I'm going to start with some bullet points over here. I'm going to make my list. This is like so basic. It makes sense that you begin there. This is like that very foundational knowledge, that very foundational experience that kind of introduces you to anything. You're not going to be able to comprehend that level of detail that you would if you had years building into it. And connecting the dots and just increasing the understanding and the wisdom that goes with this, with the acquisition of knowledge, different skills. I found lately, I'm sorry for like leaving that fragment there. I will revisit this, I promise. Well, I don't want to make any promises. Scratch the fact that I just made a promise. I'm not promising you anything. Because I feel within myself that I am unpredictable. Making that promise is creating a situation where if I don't follow, like, we're talking about these boxes, I don't need to make that promise. What I was trying to say is that I respect the bold block color that goes on before the line work, before the detail. I respect the process, the way that we have to formulate this path in our mind. I'm like going to design this method, you know, it's going to get me from point A to point B. I have an idea. I want to achieve this thing. I want to get to this place. I want to become this person. What is the plan? You know, how do you get there? So sometimes that's not always clear. And so as you're trudging away and you're on your way, you're going to figure that out though. Keep your mind like, you know, in this space of what you're envisioning. Something that was really, let me try that one more time. This video is getting to be pretty long too, so I'm gonna wrap it up. But the whole thing someone said to me that I wanted to share. See, I just forgot again. Good God. I think it's time. Time to say goodbye. Anyways, bye.